Something about Lolani's speech stayed with me. Her words had been warm, generous, full of pride. For nearly 50 years, Pua Petals had shared its success, partnering with 3 island businesses to distribute leis across the island. And tonight, those very businesses would be honored. But something about it didn't quite sit right. While the quilters packed up their machines and changed clothes, I took another look at the invitation for tonight's luau. It was beautiful, elegant, and unmistakably familiar. It looked almost identical to the vintage invitation slipped under my door. And that's when I knew. Lolani Pua had sent the vintage invite. But why? It was our last evening on the island. The Wailia Pua Luau awaited. As laughter filled the path, I walked with the quilters. But my mind was somewhere else entirely. Tonight would reveal far more than a celebration. I was seated at the head table, beside Lolani Pua and the guests of honor. As the evening unfolded, stories were shared of resilience, partnership, and survival. The honored guests spoke warmly of Lolani Pua. If it hadn't been for Pua Petals, their businesses might not have survived the closing of the Ohana Wailea Luau. I listened carefully, and I heard more than they were saying. When the honored guests stepped away for photographs, I saw my moment. I gently took Lolani's hand as I asked her what I already knew. "You were the one who slipped the vintage invite under the door." Lolani nodded. Then I pushed a little harder and asked if Pua Petals was responsible for the mishaps and tragedies 50 years ago. Again, Lolani nodded. We turned away from the crowd, and she told me her story.
50 years ago, my mother was afraid. She believed the new businesses joining the Ohana Wailea Luau would take everything from us. She tried to drive them away, but they kept coming back. When she set the fires, she went too far. Something in her broke. In the final year, she caused Island Annie's booth to collapse. People were hurt. My mother got what she wanted: an exclusive luau. But at what cost? One year later, my mother worked herself to an early grave. Before she died, she told me everything. I was only 26. I couldn't continue Pua Petals along, so I made a different choice. I offered contracts to Island Annie's, Mahalo Mix, Luau Lace. I shared what my mother feared the most, and we all have benefited. I've carried her secret for 50 years. And tonight, it's time to come clean, and you, dear Lara, will help me.
Lolani had made a promise to her dying mother. She would never tell the authorities. So instead, she told me. Lolani slipped the invitation under my door, hoping the truth would be discovered, and finally revealed. Lolani Pua could finally pass her legacy on to her daughter, with a clear conscience. And me? I'm headed home for a break from the islands and the mysteries. I have a 3-month break before I return to Hawaii for my last tour for quilting adventures. I'm really looking forward to having time to myself.
What do you think? Will Lara find the peace and quiet she is hoping for at home? Comment below.